Hey everybody, welcome back to part 2 of Bushcraft Camping Survival Tips, Tricks, and Talk. Okay, where the subjects go where there's no place else for them to fit. Answers to comments, answers to questions, answers to messages that I just can't explain, they have to be shown. So I hope you enjoyed part 1. If you didn't, go back, take a look at it. Everything's all mixed up. I filmed on this thing for like 5 days straight and then just kind of edited it all together however I could make it fit. So, on with the subjects. Hope you enjoy it. Now, I was discussing with a friend one time the alpine butterfly, okay? And it's quite a useful knot, and what it is it's the only knot that I'm aware of that will take pressure in 3 different directions. Okay, and it's hard to explain through a message, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie it, and I'm also going to show how to locate it. Like say if you were setting up a shelter along a ridge line, and I have a design for a yurt that uses this knot, and I may show that yurt later on. I never have, but there's a way of locating it at a certain distance from a tree, and there's different ways of doing it with rope and different ways of doing it with paracord. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show both ways, and that way you can also get a double look at the knot and you can practice it yourself. Okay, so first thing that you want to do is you want to tie off to a tree. Alright, now just like say for example this is going to be like your ridge line or something, so you choose your trees, okay, tie it off solid on one end. Now on the other end, you don't tie it off. You just kind of throw it over so that the cord's just kind of dangling there. Now I'm going to put you behind me so that you can see how I locate it and how I tie it. Now as you see as the key to this, you can see right there, this is loose. I haven't got it tied, and that's because you need a little bit of room. I've just got the hank of cord hanging over it, counterweighting it. So what you want to do, let's get down here where this is. Now let's say that you want this in a specific location along the line, okay? If you choose a location to put the alpine butterfly, then what you're going to be doing is you're going to be taking up some rope and it's going to move back to where you want to go, okay? So if you want to put it somewhere, what you're going to do is you choose your spot, all right? For paracord, you take 2 fingers length and you move over 2 fingers length. And then this right here is where your knot will be. So what you do is you hold on to this. All right, you watching? I got to make sure I got you in shot. I had to lift you up a little bit. And what you do with this is you pick it up and you twist. You pick it up and twist. And then you put it over your thumb. Okay? Now what you've done is you've got this amount of material. This is 2 fingers worth of material. You've gone back that way, and that's why it's located. So once it's on there, you pull the material from the other end into a figure 8. See that again. All I've done is I've pulled this up, and once you pull it up, you give it a twist. Now what you do is you set it back over your thumb, okay? And you see this X right here? This loop that I'm holding down is going to go up under that X. So you grab a hold of them, and you push it through. That is the alpine butterfly. It'll take pressure in this direction, and this direction. And that is how you locate it with paracord. Now I'm going to show you how to locate it with a rope. And see, this thing, no matter how tight you get this thing is very easily undone later on. That's the beauty of it. Of course, it's not undoing real easy here. All right, let me undo it and we'll put the rope on there. Now we got our rope. Pull some out. Tie it around the tree. Pull out a little bit of rope. and just throw it over. Just like before. Now we have our 3/8 diameter rope. Now let's say that I want the location of it here. So instead of 2 fingers over for the paracord, I'm going to use 4 fingers for the rope. And once I come over here, this is where I want the location of my knot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up. I've turned it. I'll put my thumb in it, and then I'm going to drag more up, turn that into a figure 8. Lay it over my thumb. There's the X, and the loop I just laid over is going to come up through where my thumb is. This is the part where it gets kind of confusing, where I move my thumb. You'll have to practice with that yourself. And that is the alpine butterfly. Pulls in this direction, pulls in this direction, and pulls in this direction. Got it? A lot of survival experts, when they suggest carrying a roll of duct tape, and a lot of times what they do is, to save space, they'll pull the inner cardboard out and they'll crush it so it'll save space. Well, actually, there's something cool that you can do with this thing, that you can put that space to good use. I'll show you something. It's because it's pretty strong. Pretty strong. It's hard to crush it with the tube in it. So what you want to do is, if you're going to carry an extra compass and you're not going to have one in your pocket, one of the things that you can do is, everybody's going to carry an extra pair of socks. So what you can do is you can slide your compass in a sock, and you can wrap it up, and you can cram it inside. You can cram it inside your tape, your roll of tape, so that whenever you're backpacking, it doesn't get crushed. And then you take the other sock and you wrap the other sock around. Alright? And you can put like a rubber band or one of those wrist things on it, and that'll hold it. So, and that's a good thing for, to keep it from getting crushed. And another thing too, they'll protect it too. You never can tell if you and your backpack may take a heavy fall down a mountain or a cliff or a hill or something, or maybe if it falls, your compass will stay good and usable. That should absorb the shock. Kind of weird, but it's just a good use of space inside that tape. Now I notice a lot of people, they tend to like those little mini survival kits, whether they're in an Altoids tin or a small fold-up pack. But the one thing that most of them, you've got things like small bits and pieces that could be used as shelter, and then you've got like a ferro rod and a small knife. But what's always missing is a canteen of some kind, something for taking care of water. So I want to show you a neat little trick that's a last-ditch effort for a bad situation. You know, I hate the term survival situation. But anyway, like for example in this little kit here, you can carry it in your pocket. Okay. Now everybody knows there's not room in a small kit for a canteen. Okay. So what you want to do is, in your kit, carry some Mylar gift wrap paper. It's pre-cut into small sizes. And a gallon Ziploc bag. Okay, I'll show you how this works. You take the bag and find a place in the creek where the water's running and catch some water in it. Just look for an area like what's behind me where the water's running and it's clear and it's not muddy, and just fill your bag up. Fill it up with water and try not to get any particles or anything in it if you can. And then I'll show you the next step. Alright, next step is you find a nice sunny spot where the sun should be for a while. And like I say, what this is gift wrap. They also call it silver tissue. Now this is a lot better for aluminum foil for reflectivity. So all you do, and if it's a hot enough day, you can actually cook food with this. There's usually several sheets in here. I've used a few of this. So what you want to do is pull you out a sheet, lay it on the ground, just like that. And then you take your bag of water, and then you lay your water on it, just like that. Now just laying a bag of water on the ground in the sun won't necessarily reach pasteurization temperature, but if you lay it on this mylar, the sun will come in and hit this and reflect back through the water. Not only is the sun going through the water, but it's reflecting back through the water. And in a bad situation, if this is all you have, you can lay this out in the direct sun, and 8 hours later you can drink that water and it should be just fine. When I was doing my video, the bug out bag rating system, I mentioned on there the dangers of using a cheap compass. And even before that, I had a few messages about people that was asking about compasses and talking about them and things, and I'm completely against those little cheap ones, and you even see them in a lot of people's survival kits, and I just don't believe in them. So I'm going to show you a neat little test for you to test your compass, and it'll prove to you what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's take a look at that. This is like a universal test for compasses, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you with this. This is a Sunto MC2. It's a really good compass. All right. So what you want to do with it is you want to take the compass and you want to set it down on the table, and you want to see where north is facing. All right. As you can see, north is pretty much facing in that direction. It's just a little bit higher than center line of what the camera's filming. So now when you turn it in this direction, okay, you can see the north it's filming just a little bit higher from, like I say, the center line of my screen. Turn it this way, and once again it's very much pointing in that same direction. You want to turn it in every direction you can. Okay, like I say, here you go again. Here's the center line of the screen, and it's pointing just a little bit higher, maybe 5 to 10 degrees higher. Alright, that's a good compass. What it is you want that thing to be the same every time. This is some kind of a little device made by Columbia River Knife and Tool. And this has one of those little button compasses, and I think this thing goes on like a paracord bracelet. It's got like a ferro rod and a flashlight, and they deem this as a survival tool. Now it has a north, a little green arrow on there. So what you want to do is you want to set it on the table. Now that thing seems to be going just a little bit into an angle this direction. Okay, so that seems to be pretty accurate. So what you want to do is pick it up and turn it 180 degrees, and you want to see how it reads now. And that's pretty accurate. It's coming up over in this direction. That's not too bad. So one last time, let's pick it up and set it down right here. Same thing, coming on up this way. One more time. Now that might be a little bit lower than normal, but that's okay. You know, this, like I say, this has got the name on it, Columbia River Knife and Tool, so this might be a pretty viable option. This is where I have the problem. These cheap, no-name type compasses that people are putting in Altoid kits, and they're like carrying on carabiners. So it's got a green north. So let's set it down in that direction. Let's see where that thing. Now that thing is pretty much straight in line with the camera. It's saying that north is in that direction. So let's turn it around now. Let's see where it measures. Now that's horrible. This thing is pointing over here. It's pointing way over here. That's way off. Now let's pick it up and turn it 90 degrees this way and see how it measures. That's pretty much straight center line with the screen. Now let's turn it 180 from where it was that time. Now that thing seems to be kind of going at an angle, a little bit more accurate from the beginning. Let's set it down here again. Now that is completely accurate that time. Now it's aiming in this direction. Let's flip it over once more. Now see, that's horrendous. See where the north is aiming now? The north is aiming in this direction. See, the thing is this thing is just, you never know when it's going to be accurate or not. And that's why I just don't trust these. See, now it's just a little bit out of center line. Now it's actually accurate. I think I've proven my point. I don't have to keep flipping this thing around. See, now I can see that arrow's directly in the center line with the camera. It's not offset like it should. So, like I say, don't trust these little things. You know, if you are going to use one of these things, at least use something that's got a reputable company's name on it, not some no-name dollar store stuff. Okay? Somebody had asked me one time about a Ranger roll, or what's also known as a Ranger taco. Now, what a Ranger taco is, a Ranger taco is simply an improvised sleep system, okay? And it's what, I guess it's named after the Army Rangers. It's an Army thing, but normal campers use a sleeping bag. Well, a sleeping bag is just a sleeping bag. If you had to, you can unzip it and use it as a blanket, okay? But what the Ranger roll consists of is the poncho, okay? Poncho can be used as part of the sleep system, or it can be used as a poncho to keep rain off of you, or it can be used as a shelter. Now what the Ranger roll is, it is a compromised of three things. Now normally they have a poncho liner, okay? Now a poncho liner, with the poncho, you put the poncho liner in the liner, in the poncho, and it acts kind of like a waterproof sleeping bag. Well, they have a thing called a casualty blanket, which is just pretty much the same thing as a grabber blanket. It's one of these reflective mylar blankets. And added to them, the three of these together is what is called either a Ranger taco or a Ranger roll. Alright? Now, with that in mind, that weighs, these three items weigh a total of, I think, 2 pounds. Yeah, that's what it is. These three items are 2 pounds, and they're multi-use items. Now, I have an improved one for the minimalist multi-gear type person. This is good for down to 45 degrees. Now, what mine does is mine doesn't use the poncho. Mine uses 2 grabber blankets, or also casualty blankets, and 2 ponchos for a total of 3 pounds. Now, my system easily goes down to 30 degrees, which is a good thing. And there's other ways of using these things. You can use this as a, like I say, it's a sleep system, or you can use these as just a blanket, or you can use these for a shelter, or you can use these for the sleep system. There's other things. There's a way you can wrap up with this if you're like in a heavy rain or a blizzard and travel. And I may show you that. It looks very stupid, but I may show you that, okay? So, let me show you how to put these 4 items together to make an improvised sleeping bag. Now the way these poncho liners are made is they've got these tie-outs on them. They have these tie-outs where you can tie them into the actual poncho, and that's a benefit when using these grabber blankets. Now, if you have to, these grabber blankets, they have the grommets you can tie into, but I went ahead and sewed on some very small diameter webbing to make it a lot easier to do. So, first step, what you want to do, you want to roll out one of them. Silver side up. All right. Bunch of rocks under there. And what you want to do is you want to take your poncho liner, roll it out on it, roll it out flat, and then tie each corner. I got 6 corners here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie them off, and then I'll cut you back on. This is the first step. As you can see, I have at all 6 corners, I now have the poncho liner tied to the Mylar blanket. The second step is the exact same thing. Put out another Mylar blanket. Right on top. Silver side up. Then take another poncho liner, lay it on, and tie it to this Mylar blanket. So you'll have a space blanket, a poncho liner, a space blanket, and a poncho liner. Here's where we're at right now. We have grabber blanket, poncho liner tied together, and then we have another grabber blanket, poncho liner tied together. This is something that you may want to do at home and carry in your kit, and that's normally how I carry it, and that's what makes this a roll or a Ranger roll, because you have all your stuff tied together and then you just roll it up, carry it like a sleeping bag. Now, the way this works, you pull it halfway over, fold it over one way, and then fold in the other direction, okay? I'll be far away from the camera, so I'll try to yell so you can hear me as I do it. Pick up the top layer and fold it in that direction. Now you can retie it here so the ends are tied together. Then you drag it over so that you've got a fold on this end. And then you simply fold over the remaining part to help seal up this opening. So basically what you have here now is a sleeping bag. And what it is the way it's set up is you're going to be in here, you're going to slide in here just like a sleeping bag. And you're going to have, on the top and bottom, you're going to have a poncho liner, you're going to have a Mylar cover, you're going to have another poncho liner for insulation, and then you're going to have another Mylar cover. Any heat whatsoever that tries to escape from your body through here is going to be trapped by the second layer. So it's like you've got 4 layers on the top and the bottom. And if you have to, you can put a bunch of leaves on the bottom. Alright. Now, a little something about this Mylar, you never want the Mylar touching your skin ever. These space blankets, if somebody's like, say if it's a rescue operation and somebody's pulled out of the snow or out of the water, there's a possibility that you'll be fine and dandy for wrapping it around you for about 3 or 4 minutes, because it'll get you warm quick. But if you sleep in one overnight with it touching your skin, you'll sweat like a pig. So what you want to do is you want to have that poncho liner or some kind of a blanket wrapped around you first, and then the reflective, so that because the Mylar is not insulative, it's reflective. The blanket will be insulative, so whatever heat goes into the blanket will be reflected back by the Mylar, and whatever loss of heat will never make it through that second layer of reflective, and that's what makes this so effective. And it could go down even colder if you were dressed properly. Okay, and what you do with it then is you just roll it up when you're done using it, just like a sleeping bag. But the beauty of this is you can tear everything apart and make a shelter out of it. Now I'm going to show you a really idiotic idea. I didn't bring any paracord with me, but I'm gonna try to show you as best as I can. Something else you can do with this if you get caught in like a really bad, I mean, it doesn't snow around here, but if you get caught in a really bad blustery cold wind, snow coming down, possibly rain, you can use this to help walk your way out of a survival situation if you have very little else. A sleeping bag won't do what I'm fixing to show you. It's about as crazy as an idea as it comes, but this is more along the lines of a survival type thing that I'm fixing to show you. You pick up one of the reflective blankets with the liner in it. You wrap it around your body. Okay? Wrap it around your body. And you want to make it to where you've got some hanging down. This is going to insulate the majority of your body. And then what you're going to do with the next one is pull it over your head. And this is what you're going to do. You're going to walk with it held out. You're not going to wrap it around your head. Okay? Now, this first piece, you'll want to paracord it on so it doesn't move. But this other piece right here, you're going to walk with it holding on your head. And it's going to look ridiculous, but it's very effective in walking in heavy winds and rains. Now, if you have to, you can walk with it down and your head down, watching the path. Now that looks pretty stupid, but there's a tiny possibility one day you may actually need it in the really bad cold windy weather. That would help out on Naked and Afraid too. The next little tip is something that is not necessarily dedicated straight towards bushcraft camping or survival, but it's something that I've found out that helps me. And it also can help out any hobbyist or collectors or people that love yard sales or old junk or antiques or whatever. So bear with me. I'm going to talk a minute and then we're going to go on over to the computer and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Let's say you've got anything old. You've got an old cook set, you got an old axe, you got an old stove, you got an old fire starter, you got an old anything, okay? Anything with a tag or labeling, okay? Let's say, for example, let's take a look at this. This is a Wallace 10-inch pruning saw, all right? It's cool, you know, bushcrafters love this kind of stuff. It's an old saw. Let's take a closer look at it. It's got a wooden handle. Alright, cool. Us bushcrafters, we like this kind of stuff. Unscrew it. Mash the little spring-loaded button down and open it up and tighten it up. And you're looking at this saw and you're like, this is a wooden handled saw and the teeth are just bizarre looking. Huge teeth. Alright, so we're looking at this saw and we want to know more about it. So what are we going to do? The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the internet and we're going to look it up on the internet. Wallace 10-inch pruning saw. Okay? Bear with me. Let's go look it up and I'll tell you what I'm talking about. Alright, we are at the computer and I honestly have no idea if this is going to show up or not. Alright, now what I'm going to show here, we've got our saw right here, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to do what everybody else would do. W-A-L-L-A-C-E, Wallace, P-R-U-N-I-N-G, saw. Alright, then it popped up. Wallace folding pruning saw, so let's click on it. Alright, we've got all these. Got this Amazon folding pruning saw, 7-inch blade, 7-inch blade, 7-inch blade. Everything's 7-inch blade. There ain't no 10-inch blade. So there's a 12-inch. So let's just go over here and take a peek at images. Okay, images. That's a Fiskars, and it doesn't even have the same blade. Here's a wooden handled one, doesn't have the same blade. Wooden handle doesn't have the same blade. Alright, so as usual, nothing has come up. This just says folding pruning saw. It's got a wooden handle. Ah, looky here. What do we have here? Here you have a folding pruning saw. So let's click on it, bring it up. That's our saw. It's a Wallace. It's got the same blade, but what is this? Okay, what this is it's eBay. View page eBay. Alright. The sales ended. And all it says is very good used condition push button locking blade. Okay. Alright, so we're at a loss now because all this is saying is nice vintage Wallace push button hand sharp pruning folding wood saw. Alright. Not good. So we're at a loss. We don't know anything. Now, this is the trick. This is what I'm going to show you. Okay. The patent number. I don't know if you can see it or not. What you want to do is, you're going to love this. Let's see, this takes both hands to shift. P-A-T.N-U-M-B-E-R. Alright. Patent number. Let's see, we are 4627. 4627. 165. Okay, here we go. Let's see what that brings up. And see, what I'm trying to impress upon y'all is anything you want to know about anything, type in the patent number. Okay? That's analytics. We don't want that. Now this is handheld cutting tools, patent genius. Well, let's click on that. As it loading. And see, now here you go. Here's you some information. It tells you the name of the inventor, the date issued, 1986. The inventor, Dwayne M. from Milwaukee, Oregon. The assignee is O-Mark Industries, Portland, Oregon. Okay, and it tells the attorney. It tells all the information about it. Now, this is the good part right here. Look at all this information on the saw. It says a handheld having cutting teeth with a depth limiting design compatible with forces capable of being generated by an operator. And then down here it goes into saying a handle and an elongated blade extended thereof said elongated blade, blah, blah, blah. And this is where it gets juicy. A handsaw is defined in a claim where the shallow angular range of the bottom controlling surface from the rearward of the cutting edge is the point is 7 degrees and extends for a distance of 1/4 inch. Now see, that explains these big giant teeth on it. Huge teeth. I'm going to put my finger up there so that you can tell how big the teeth are. They're massive teeth. One is ground in one direction and one is ground in the other direction. Now see, I never would have known all this had I not typed in the patent, and that's one of the things that you need to do. This says everything that there is about it. Now this is talking about different figures and detailed drawings. It goes all the way down here. Now I found another website on here. It's weird. Earlier I had found several of them, but this right here, it says issue date 1986. They filed it 1985, and it says that this is now expired. I guess because the saw is so old. Now this is what I really wanted to show you, because I found several of these earlier where it actually had a diagram of the teeth and how it opens and how it closes. And then this is what you want to read about, is the claim, because it's got all these things and it explains. Like when I first saw the saw, I wondered what the weird teeth was. So if you ever have like a cook set that has a weird shape to it, or a saw or a knife or axe that has a weird shape to it, you can go to the patent number and it'll claim what the deal is. Like this one says, elongated blade having a bottom cutting edge designed for cutting lengthwise reciprocation of the blade, defining thereby cutting action. Said cutting blade edge formed by a series of cutting teeth. This even describes, it says, the spacing between the teeth forming gullets for carrying wood chips. Certain of said teeth having a depth-seeking front surface and a depth-controlling bottom surface properly formed for controlling depth cutting of wood material. And see, it's amazing how much they explain on it. And there's, like I said, there's, the last time I did this, I brought up a bunch of different ones, a bunch of different pages. Talk a little bit about pace count. Okay, I think I mentioned this earlier in another video, but pace count is good because it tells you, estimates how far you've traveled. Now, a lot of people nowadays is going to have GPS or satellite navigation of some kind. A lot of people have a compass. A lot of people will have a map with them. But basically, it's good to know your paces, okay? And lots of reasons behind it. So, what you want to do is you want to figure out your pace count. And it changes as you get older, or as you get out of shape, or as you gain weight, or as you get health problems. So the way I do it, this is my method for it. All right. In a mile, there is 5,280 feet in a mile. All right. What you want to do is, I chose personally for me a random number that would go into that 17 times, which is 310. Okay. 310 feet times 17 equals 5,280 feet. Okay, so there's your mile. That's like, I don't know, maybe you call it 1/17 of a mile, I guess. I don't know. But what you do is you take your 310 and you get you some string and you coil off 310 feet of string. Alright? You run it through the woods. You start at one end, or you tie it to a tree and just start unraveling and counting your paces. Alright? Now in the general woods, for me, it's like in 310 feet, it's like 65 paces for me. Alright? Now you may want to do this 3 or 4 times to get your average. Alright? So, now the next thing that you want to do is you want to go uphill with your string and see how bad uphill your pace count becomes. And that's like, for me, whenever I'm just going through the woods, my pace count average is 65 paces, but whenever I'm going up a hill, it takes more. I average 70 paces going uphill. Okay, so once you have your pace count for 310, then what you do is you multiply that by 17, and that's your number of paces per mile. Ain't that neat? And everybody's heard about ranger beads, and with ranger beads, what you do is, or you can do it with rocks, or you can do it with stones. And simply what you do, in my case, what I would do is I would take 17 pieces of sticks and put them in my right pocket. And every time I went 65 paces, I'd pull a stick out and put it in my left pocket. Count another 65 paces, pull a stick out, put it in my other pocket. Once I've done that 17 times, I've walked for a mile. Now with the ranger beads, what they are is they're these beads that you wear around your neck, and you'll slide a bead down every time you go a measurable distance. And like I say, for me, you know, I used to keep it in my mind, but now I have like a laminated card that I keep in my pack, and because I don't do pace count as much as I used to. But a pace is basically whatever foot you start out on. Like if you're on this right foot, you reach out with your left foot. Well, when this right foot comes off the ground and hits the ground, that's one pace. All right. Other things you need to know is if a map is not in miles, if it's in meters, just remember this. Write this down on a little card too. 3.281 feet per meter. All right. And then another thing that you can write down is 1,609.34 meters are in a mile. Okay, that's good. Your little notebook, your little laminated card. There's lots of things that you can put on a little card and laminate them. But basically, I mean, most people will pick a distance on a map and go from point to point to get their pace count. But for me, the good old string works fantastically. So anyway, that's just a little bit about pace count. I was discussing with a friend one time about felling trees and limbing trees, and when limbing them, if it's a full-size tree laying on the ground, there's a certain way to do it. And they had said to me one time, they said it doesn't matter how you limb it, even though they always say a certain way. Well, I'm going to explain why it does matter. Now, if it's a real small one with small branches like this, it doesn't matter. You can just lop them off however. But if it's a big tree laying down on the ground, it does matter. And I'm going to show you why. I'm going to kind of explain it. Because when a tree grows, the limbs are all growing upwards at an angle. When you fell a tree, it lays like this and all of the limbs are at an angle in this direction. Well, they always suggest that you lop them off from this direction and you don't lop them off from this direction. Now, I don't have a full tree to show you, but I've got a part of a tree that I'm going to zoom in on or get a little closer, and I'm going to explain to you why it's important and why they do say that you're supposed to cut from this direction. Now, like I say, a smaller one, it don't matter, but when you get up to a full-size tree with large limbs, it does matter. And it's not a safety issue, it's a matter of getting the job done. Now, what I was saying is whether it's an axe or a hatchet or a machete, it doesn't matter. The reason they always say to do it in a certain direction is because it saves a lot of work. Okay, so now if you look down here, I have a part of a limb, and you can see right here with this limb is if the axe, cat anyone, come on, get out of here. With a hatchet or an axe, when you take it and you slice in from this side, there's no room for this thing to move around. And what it is when it goes in, it's got one direction to go in, and there's no chip removal. And if you're not removing chips, you can't put the axe through. It's like I said, this ain't a laser beam. So the reason that you want to come from this other side is because what you want to do is you want to take chips from this direction, this direction, this direction, and this direction. So this is what it's supposed to look like. Take a little bit from here, a little here, and so you're working your way into it, because if you were coming from this direction, you would never make it through it on a big limb. So you're going to be going in each direction just like this. And that is how you limb a tree. Why am I wearing this camo jacket? It's not because I'm freezing to death. I'm wearing it to prove a point. Okay. Now, on Velcro, there's what is called the hook and the loop. Okay, two different sizes. Now, on these jackets, the loop is always on the jacket. Okay, the loop is the soft stuff, and that's where they put the name tags on, or sometimes they call them tapes. But anyway, the loop is the soft side, and the hook is the rough side. So everywhere you've got these, all these military jackets have them. And this is a British jacket. This is a DPM. That's disruptive pattern material. The American jackets, they're the same way. They have the loop on the jacket, or as you can say, the soft fuzzy stuff. That's where I think it's technically called a tape, you know, mostly known as name tag. Okay, you've got them things that's all over these jackets. Even some of the woodland camo has them. The ACU, the modern ACU definitely has them because it's got huge ones on the sleeve. All right, now what am I getting at? Okay, what I'm getting at is all these military jackets are made the same. All right, the loop is the soft part is sewn on the jackets. Now, what I'm getting at is on my videos, when I was talking about attaching knives to sheaths with Velcro, I got into kind of an argument with a guy because I think I stated or suggested to always put the hook, let me make sure I got it right, the hook, yes, the hook is the rough side. You put the hook part on the knife and you put the loop part on the machete. Okay, he said it did matter. Now the reason that it did matter is because when you go to pull this off, if you need to, you can pull that off and you can attach it to your military jacket. And see, that way, in case you're doing something, you got the knife right up here handy within reach. You know, you pull it right off your machete and then you've got a way of mounting it. Depending on the sheath, you could possibly mount it upside down. That way it can be a quick pull out. Alright. Or another thing, if you just plain old wanna man, that stuff sticks good. You know, if you want to carry your knife up here. And another good advantage is, like, say for example, I was talking about neck knives earlier or later, depending on when it got edited into the video. If you have on a full backpack, sometimes you can't necessarily wear a neck knife, and sometimes you'll just want to put one right here. Or if you have your knife attached to your machete and it's down on your belt and you want it up high where you can get at it, then that's a good way of doing it. Okay, so just remember that the technical name is hook and loop, but I call it the soft side and the rough side. The soft side is always on these military jackets, so put the rough side, the once again I can't remember, the hook is the rough, and that's what you want on your knives, so that when you can just pull them straight off of your machete and attach them to your jacket. All right. C-spot right. All right, now we come to the end of another series full of odds and ends. Into part 2. Now, just like on part 1, I'm going to close with a question. Now, this is a pretty important question, and it's probably not good to just guess at it, because this is an actual survival question. And here's the thing, I've never seen this in any book, never seen it on any TV show, never seen it on any blog or forum. I haven't found it on the internet. I have never found the answer to this question, and I'd like to know from somebody that really and truly knows about it. Okay, now, one of the biggest dangers in a survival situation is dehydration. Okay, so now let's say you've gone for 2 days with no water. Okay, here's the question: you've gone for 2 days with no water. You're dehydrated. Your blood is thickened up. Your organs are starting to shut down. You need water, you need it quick. You can't get a fire, you can't purify water. The only water that's there is a dirty river, dirty muddy river, or a dirty stagnant lake or a swamp, okay? But there's plenty of water there, you just can't drink it, okay? Here's the question, okay? Remember, your blood's thick, you don't have any water in your system, you're dehydrated severely, your organs are shutting down, okay? Here's the question: can a person strip down their clothes, strip down naked to your underwear, whatever, have as much skin as exposed as possible, go into the lake or the river, submerge yourself up to your neck? If you float in that river and you float in that water for 4, 6, 8 hours, will that water, if you're that dehydrated, will that water go through your pores and into your system and save your life? Okay, I want to hear what you think about that in the comments section. Preferably anybody with real medical or EMT or paramedic experience. Because so far, none of the survival experts have been able to answer that one. That's been a doozy. But anyway, just something to think about, because, you know, on these YouTube videos, and especially in the comments, we all learn. So I shall see you in the next one.